Hello there viewer, are these big changes coming to the Thorpe Park Resort? And I can already hear you practically shouting into your monitors, but what changes are you even talking about? You're talking about Exodus because everyone already knows about that, you're like 9 months late. Well, not exactly, but kind of. I just thought I'd make a short video so we can maybe do a bit of speculation as to what Thorpe Park might look like in the next few years, and I think it's safe to say more is changing than we first thought. Okay, so let's just rewind a bit and go back to 2012. What a great year that was. But it was certainly a good year for Thorpe Park as they opened their new attraction, the Swarm, a £20 million Bolliger and Mabillard winged coaster that took the UK coaster scene by storm. Well, at least it seemingly did. As great as the ride was, how many of you knew that it was actually a complete failure for Thorpe Park? Or should I say partial failure? In the following years of operation, the park declared that the ride was a commercial disappointment after failing to boost guest attendance as they were hoping. At the time, this led to them releasing the all-new Brave It Backwards feature of backwards facing rows in 2013 to try and salvage the damage, but it was just too late, as most of the criticism was actually received for it being too short rather than anything else. Ever since 2013, it seemed that the park had pretty much buried their head in the ground, barely investing in the park other than some strange new attractions over the years, which, let's be honest, they all flopped as well.
You don't want to be like this. This is disgusting. This is awful in every way. If I could kill it, I would. But I legally can't. But I've considered it.
And it really just put the salt in the wound for them at this point, decreasing their motivation to even invest in anything. But now, as of 2023, we're finally expecting a brand new roller coaster, currently known as Project Exodus, to be opening sometime in 2024. Not only is this big coaster news, but it's big for the park as it shows them finally making an effort to increase park attendance as they're pushing the boundaries of what they've done in the past. And although we won't know properly until later down the line, this really could mean a new beginning for the resort, which means new investment. Now, like I mentioned earlier, the video isn't just about Exodus. In fact, that's just one piece of the Thorpe Park puzzle, as many believe now that we could be seeing something far greater than just a new roller coaster on the horizon. So what do I even mean by that? Well, I think it's a good time to talk about the survey that Thorpe Park's social media shared not so long ago, where it specifically asks about the branding of the park, such as the logo design. The theme park industry in the UK has drastically changed in the last few years, more than what it first appears, as each park is slowly going into different directions with what audiences they are aiming at, becoming much more specialised and focused than what we've seen before. For example, Porter's Park, a relatively small theme park that always catered towards younger riders and families, have opened Cyclinator, their first thrill ride, as well as expressing their interest in the more thrilling market in the future. On the other hand, you have Drayton Manor, who as the years go by are beginning to remove more and more of their older thrill rides and now almost entirely investing in rides and experiences of a much more family orientated theme, most recently changing their brand identity altogether. With the industry becoming more and more competitive each year, Thorpe Park have had to look at themselves and understand their targeted demographic, and with their latest additions to the park being Black Mirror Labyrinth and the upcoming Project Exodus, I think it's safe to say they'll be continuing to lean into the thrills over anything else. There was also the pressure of the infamous London resort opening in the area, which would have encouraged Merlin into investing more and more into their own parks. However, with the entire project pretty much crumbling over some spiders, I don't think that's really on the cards anytime soon. With the publicity of the London resort growing over 2022, however, it quite obviously did startle Merlin.
Whoa, hey!
As this is when we first were given an insight into their future plans for Thorpe Park, stating that they understand how to increase attendance, they must invest in new and exciting attractions, which although has taken 10 years for them to admit, it's a really positive message to finally hear. So, will Thorpe Park be rebranding their logo anytime soon? Well, it's looking fairly likely, which would probably be a good change rather than a negative one, as with their new goals of more investment later down the line, I believe this is almost like a fresh new reboot for the park after slowly losing attendance and relevance since 2011. As well as the big new coaster on the doorstep, Thorpe have also been doing some smaller jobs recently too, including the partial retracking of Colossus taking place over this winter period, as well as the new small play park and refresh of the junior ride called Lumberjump. This shows that the park are very keen to smoothen out their rough edges, quite literally in some cases, which I think is also an extremely important and positive sign for things to expect in the future. And let's just be honest for a second, it feels like they finally care about the park again and are going to be continuing with this approach for a while, which we can be incredibly excited for. Whether their next attraction after Exodus is a flat ride or a 200-foot RMC hybrid coaster, I think it's fairly certain that we will be seeing new additions, changes and refreshes in the coming years, so why not comment what you would like to see at the Thorpe Park Resort in the future, and whilst you're at it you might as well subscribe. But other than that, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
Really, y'all don't know this, y'all in danger, I'm a threat. I'm a gamble with your life, cause you know that it's okay. It's okay. You know I ain't letting up, my foot is on your neck.
This is disgusting.